at your enchantical background again. How beautiful is that?
Ah,
Oh, I love it.
isn't it pretty?
You're in this gorgeous, like indigo color.
Oh, my top. Yeah, yeah. It's really warm and humid here.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oof. I've never had a hot. That's not true. I've had two hot flashes in my life, but I imagine this is kind of what a hot flash might feel like. I'm like, wow, it's a lot. Yeah.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
humid. It's humid.
It's so humid. That's what it is. Yeah. And I took my air conditioning units out probably 6 weeks ago,
Yeah.
and because it was we had some chilly weather, and I was like, oh, but we always have warm, the warm comes back around, and it really did. But I don't think I would need my air conditioning now. But
Yeah. Yeah. No, I felt it today because I normally am just like, I don't know, fleece robe and under a fleece blanket. I'm like a cat. And today I was like, oh, I need my little winter booties off and like I'm schwitzing a little,
yeah,
you know?
yeah, that's such a great um what's the
Like Yiddish?
yes, it's a great Yiddish word,
Schwitzing.
isn't it? Schwitzen. Ah, so
Mm,
good.
it's good to see you.
It's so good to see you.
What a
Yeah.
week.
What a wild week. I yeah. I don't even know. I don't know what to say. I don't know what to think about it. It's very I will say that I mean, as happy as I am, because of
Yeah,
course I'm very happy, um, I still feel very tentative
sure.
to get
Makes
excited.
sense. Well, it makes sense given the way the administration is handling this,
Yeah.
that you can't, it's like the exhale of a democratic election and like, what is this janky shit
Right.
we still have to continue dealing with?
Right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's how I feel.
Yeah. Not cool.
Well, and not surprising,
Yeah.
tediously predictable. I think for me, it's like, man, like surprise me a little. This is so tedious.
Yeah.
Like this could have been plotted on the crazy chart 3 months ago.
Right. Yeah.
And yeah, the hypocrisy. I think that's a place for me that I'm checking where it's like, oh, when it's your team, all bets are off.
Yeah.
And when it's not, then like all bets are off in a different way.
Mhm.
Um, I feel strongly that this is just like, oh, these guys are just going to kick the can a little farther down the road and it's all still going to sort itself out. Um, but I also find it interesting when a president is not willing to concede to 4 million, you know, being, let's say, 70 plus million people voting for his opponent. And then, the Biden group many months ago saying the White House will have no problem escorting trespassers out. And it's like, oh boy, has it come to that?
I
Like
know.
on official campaign pages.
Right.
Yeah. And maybe it needs to, I don't know.
Maybe. Maybe. Um what I find I I'm so aware that 45 has had many opportunities to turn things around and be a better person.
So many opportunities.
So many opportunities, so many, where had he done just one of them, we would have been like, oh, he's human. Like he actually care. Like he wants to get like he has some grace. There's some grace there, right?
Right.
but he hasn't. Like he
No.
just it's shameless. It's just shameless and crooked um and to be that blatant about it,
Yeah.
it continues to even though I keep saying I'm not surprised, there's a part of me that is because I'm like, well, how bad can it, like, how much worse? And I need to stop asking that question because the worst keeps coming. Like, I'm going, just stop, Heidi. Don't ask that question anymore.
Yeah.
You know,
No. Well,
it feels almost too dangerous to even put that energy out into the universe
yeah.
because I'm like, I don't want the answer to that.
I think also, on the heels of that, I pride myself so much in being able to find common ground and relate, right? As a relationship coach, as someone who's learned interpersonal dynamics and depth psychology, like I really do pride myself in meeting any stranger anywhere and being able to find common ground and common humanity. And I think what's difficult here is like you've got a narcissist with sociopathic tendencies who doesn't care that he's lying as long as he's winning. And that's a hard place for me to relate to. Like there's a hmm, it's a shadow of this country, I imagine. And it's like if I think about like when have I, no matter what, tried to win? Maybe it's been in conflict, right? Like trying to win your side of an argument without considering others. um, but it's a difficult one because I'm looking at a grown man, right? Like I'm looking visually like
Yeah.
this is a
Okay.
grown up, this is someone who's older than me, right?
Right.
And not that age is any guarantee of maturity, but there's this dissonance with like you're as old as like my grandfather was.
Yeah.
And I know the wisdom of that elder and the measuredness and the generativeness and the care and the generosity and the like health of the whole that my grandfather embodied.
Hmm.
And then I look at this and go, how did we make this? Right? Not just how come he's like this, because that's an
Right.
easy question, but how did we make this?
Hmm.
Because I still think, not necessarily you and I directly, but that this country, this culture is complicit.
It is. It is because how many people voted for him this time?
Well, and how many people like applauded a
Applauded.
businessman, womanizer, you know, uh, kind of like win no matter what, dog eats dog, like whatever
Hmm.
that kind of culture is.
Hmm.
We've bred this,
Hmm.
you know.
Yeah.
We can all blame him, and that's fine and easy, but there's a part of me that's like, how did we arrive here? And let's actually go deeper than just not liking this guy.
Yeah. Yeah. Because at some point, we need to hold up the mirror. And as you and I know, sister, that ain't easy to do.
No.
Um, and most people don't want to do it and will never do it.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's difficult work. It's honest work, but it's
Yeah.
painful. It's like, okay, how have we um, conditioned men not to show their emotions? How have
Yeah.
we really, I don't know, celebrated this extroverted, productive money maker vibe over the empathic, heart centered
Yeah.
service ethos, right? Like,
Yeah.
again, it's like each one of us has to break those walls on the inside too,
Hmm.
right? It's tricky.
It's really tricky. Yeah. Yeah, we can't solve all the world's problems in an hour. If only, but we can't.
Right? Well, and I think that speaks to the fact that, like, when we're like, oh, how's your week? It's more than just here's how I felt through the week. There's like a tremendous amount of energy and tributaries and
Mhm.
different ways that even, my very focused brain has gone.
Mhm.
Where's this going
Yeah.
to end? How's this going to go? How did we get here? What can we
Yeah.
each do with our own hands and minds and hearts to
Yeah.
alleviate this predicament we're in? Yeah.
That's a tough one, you know? Um, and something that I really believe in is humanity. Like I absolutely refuse to give up on humanity because I believe that in the end, love and truth will always prevail. We might have to fight like hell to get there, but truth and love always prevails. It just does.
Yeah.
And thank goodness we had everyone who decided to vote early and show up and do the work, either by mail or in person or whatever they did to make it happen. Um, to say, okay, I sat on my ass 4 years ago, but this one, I'm showing up
Yeah.
because my vote and my voice will count this time. I'm
And
going to
it
make sure that
matters.
it does. It really matters. Yes.
If anyone ever thought, "Oh man, what's my vote? And it's like, yeah, we spent Tuesday to Saturday realizing I did anyway.
Oh my God.
It
That was
matters.
huge.
Some of them were
Yes.
like by 1,000, by
Mhm.
2,000, some of those states,
Yes.
you know?
Yes. And that, there's a part of me that was surprised about that, but I was just like, no, this is like the people who, and I want to say on the other side, because I feel like I'm pretty clear about the people that have those beliefs in common with me. I feel like I
Mhm.
have a good read on who those people are. The people that are not that I'm not in agreement with, one of the things that he has done in the last 4 years is allowed allowed the vitriol to be there, allowed people to, and so it's almost become the norm.
Oh,
Like
it
on some
has.
level it's become the norm. And I'm like, when did hatred become the norm?
Mm,
Like, how is that possible? We are humans.
yeah,
We are humans on this earth. We all live in this country together. And if we don't start caring about each other, then what's going to happen?
yeah.
You know? Um,
Well said.
yes. What's that?
I said, well said.
Oh, thanks.
I'm
Yeah.
all for team humanity, and it's so interesting to me because as an empath, from the time I can remember as a really small child, I felt other people's feelings and felt interconnected. I could never have subscribed to separation in that
Mhm.
regard. So the separation mentality and the scarcity mentality, it's it's pity's not the right word. It's sad to me because there is another way. There is a way where we all chip in and we all work together and we all build something beautiful. But it's like a relationship. You've got to have a willing partner, right? And my sense currently is the the venom of like hatred and divisiveness and fear is something needs to happen there for us to be able to even connect with each other, you know, even in disagreement, but
Mhm.
in a potential opportunity for learning, right? My sense with most people is they want to be seen and heard and understood. I'm not saying it's not going to be messy if we're completely on different sides of an issue, but I don't know, like what clearly whatever we did for 4 years didn't work to unite and heal things. And speaking to your normalcy of like such an abusive leadership style, hearing, you know, President-elect speak and being like, oh, wow, that was about unifying and caring for the health of the whole and providing some healing for this country. My partner and I were both like, we didn't realize, we knew how bad the other rhetoric was, but only in the first time of hearing like really healthy, integrous intention did we both go, man, like we've been in an abusive relationship here.
Mhm.
You know, once you meet the good guy and you're like, oh, you're not throwing shit and yelling and drinking all the time, right? Like
Mhm.
in the micro sense. But
Mhm.
yeah, there's something about like, I don't think we fully digested how abusive,
Yeah.
how damaging, how hurtful
Yeah.
uh, the the current leadership has been.
Yeah.
I don't think we can because we're in it.
You're right. I think you're right. Yeah. So hopefully, those who do support 45 after there's maybe some time has passed, and after January 20th, of course, and a significant amount of time has passed, maybe those who did support him can see a little clearer, and maybe have some awareness around, oh, so listening to this person is very different than listening to this like two very different ways of communicating and approaching what's happening.
Right.
Maybe,
Maybe.
maybe. I'm hopeful. Um, that's all. I'm I'm hopeful that that can happen. I am.
Yeah. And I do think
Um,
it'll take time because one way has probably activated the sympathetic nervous system in so many. So you're like fight, flight, fear, like amygdala, amygdala,
mhm,
right? And it may take time, like you said, your wisdom and eloquence of like many months and letting things settle because it's going to take a while, A, to trust someone you didn't vote for. Totally makes sense.
mhm.
And then to let the nerves settle enough to be unconditioned from fear and someone to blame, right? Like that's the piece I think we could work on. It's like, okay, how do we settle everyone's nerves? As basic as that sounds.
I don't think it sounds that basic. I think to you and I, it sounds basic, but to other people,
Yeah.
I'm not sure that's so basic. Do you
Yeah.
know what I'm do does that make sense?
Yeah, I think like I heard Van Jones speaking about, very, very emotionally and very authentically about
Mhm.
what it meant for him and for many like him. And what I felt was so validating is at the very end, he was like, this is a good day. And he's like, but I know it's not a good day for
For everyone.
everyone. And that to me was like, oh, okay, you get it. This is how we care for everyone, right? Because I know what it felt like 4 years ago, walking in a grief fog, just being like, oh my gosh, maybe a little bit intuitively, like the shit show that's going to
Mhm.
ensue
Mhm.
from someone being elected. And I have no doubt that there is half the country feeling grief
Mhm.
that their candidate didn't win, and I can have compassion for that.
Mhm.
I
Yeah.
think it's still like pulling a chick away from an abusive boyfriend and she's sad about missing him, and you're like, yeah, that's okay, like,
Yeah.
right? But I know what that felt like, and it was really painful.
Mhm.
So for someone like him or for any of us to say, yeah, like I get that there's some people having a tough week because their
Mhm.
candidate didn't win,
Yeah.
I think is the olive branch right now.
Yeah.
say like I care, even though we're we could likely be arguing about the issues, but
Yeah.
like I care that you're hurting.
Yeah,
Yeah.
for sure. Yeah. I
Mm.
remember, I remember 4 years ago, it wasn't just grief, but the shock. Like I remember feel like just my body,
Yeah.
I I had this feeling like I couldn't even move
Yeah.
because it was unfathomable to me that Hillary had lost.
Yeah.
And it wasn't even that Hillary had lost, but that he had won, that enough people voted for him after that horrid election.
Yeah.
And I thought, are these people seeing the same things that I'm seeing? I start to question myself. I'm like, am I being gaslighted? Are the Democrats, are we being gaslighted? Are we seeing, is everyone seeing the same shit show? Or are we being shown something very different than they're seeing? I don't know what the answer to that is. I don't know. And I I don't ever want to be able to say, well, they don't care, because I don't know how they feel about the way he acts. I don't know.
Mm.
Um, but it wasn't just the grief; it was the shock and the inability to almost like really breathe in a way that I was like, okay, I'm going to be okay. It took a while.
Yeah.
It took for me a long while to kind of settle in. And honestly, I think in the last 4 years, I've never been able to say president. Honestly, I've never been able, I can't even now, I can't say
Yeah.
it. And I couldn't even say his last name for the longest time. I would only address him as 45. So I think in the last 4 years, I may have been able to say Trump
Mm.
maybe 10 or 15 times.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's so, yeah, you get it. I know.
I think
Um,
the grief and I appreciate you bringing up the shock because I think, something people didn't speak about as much, at least in circles I would anticipate in my world, was like this sort of election PTSD,
yeah,
right?
that's
Like
what it was.
the anxiety remembers being shocked, going through grief, having your whole world sort of disrupted. And I, for one, noticed by Sunday night before the election, kind of like this hiked up energy sort of stuck up here, right? Not
Mhm.
just circulating through my body chiefly, but like,
Yeah.
and I was like, this is weird, for a Sunday night. And I was like, wow, I think for those of us who, like you and I, really felt shock, um, there might be, and I don't mean it because there are people who have really deep traumatic PTSD, but like there was enough of it to be like, ooh,
Mhm.
there's something here that we may not have addressed from then because we've just been riding a freaking crazy train
Mhm.
trying to hold on.
Yeah.
We're almost back to the terminus, you just got to hold on a little bit longer before that roller coaster kind of has that relief lunge.
Crest over the first.
Ooh,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. Whew, boy.
Yeah.
Hmm. Yeah, but it's always lovely to come to this space. Yeah, I mean, as we both share that we look forward to it every week, but also just not that my hair is down, but a place to let my hair down, you know.
Yeah, and to process, I feel like, we called this ritual coming together like this, and sometimes just by sharing with you and hearing you share and taking in both perspectives, even my own, there's some integration that happens.
Yeah.
It could be swirling in my head all week, but there's a place for it to land and be witnessed, and that's
Hmm.
powerful.
Yeah.
Mhm. And can I just say, like, hallelujah to Van Jones for just embodying the divine masculine with, protector, provider, integrity, um, emotion. Like, I was so deeply moved
Yeah. Me too.
that he was so well spoken, given the what I experienced to be an intensity and a depth of emotion.
Hmm.
And he still got the words through. Like, I know for me, it's like all hikes up into a really high lyrics that I can barely talk. And, you know,
Yeah. He
it's just,
was so eloquent. Yeah.
and generative. I keep coming back to like masculine allies and the divine masculine, and it's like when you can speak from that heart place, and it's generative, it's loving, it's not blaming, it's
Right.
simply being with what's coming up. That's
Mhm.
incredible to me. I'm like, more of that, please.
Oh, so much more of that.
It's like,
We
that's
need
the
that in the
world.
world.
That's the world I want to be a part of.
That's the world I want to be a part of. We need more of that. We need so much more of that than the other, Um, because without it, we're not going to heal.
Yeah. Yeah.
Uh,
Mm.
whew,
Yeah. Could you imagine though if our focus, for lack of a better word, collectively was to heal? What would that do to shift the energy? Not like I need to be right or you need to be right, but like I see you. I don't agree with it, but I see you. And I come back to communication and relational skills time and
yeah.
time again. I know it's not that easy, right? It could sound so simple, but it's this place of what would I want from the, other side.
Hmm.
I'd want to be heard. I'd want them to go, okay, that makes sense to me. Like, you've opened my perspective, and like I still feel these are my values, or these are my,
Hmm.
right.
But to be able to hear someone else's perspective that is nothing like yours, and for them to hear yours, just like you said, if it's only to be heard.
Yeah. And to not feel threatened by it. Like, that doesn't mean
Yeah.
that I have to be enlisted in your values, and that doesn't mean you have to get drafted into my values.
Right.
Like, we could have our own backs and say, chances are I'm still going to feel this way at the end of this conversation.
Yeah. And it's okay.
And it's okay. But to come with, at the Presencing Institute where I studied, there was coming, presencing was considered open heart, open mind, open will,
Mm.
right? So leading with curiosity, being available to hear and to download other ideas, and absencing, which I think has been the last 4 years in many respects, is closed will, closed heart, closed mind. It's been a shit ton of absencing,
Mhm. A lot.
and it's super easy to absence, right? You get in a fight with someone, it's so easy to shut down, not
Mhm.
listen, think they suck, etc.
Right.
it's
Right.
it's far more work, but it's honest work to me,
Mhm.
to lean in and be like, wow, this is super uncomfortable.
Mhm.
And I so want to run away from this,
Yeah.
right? And yet the leaning in may be the medicine,
Yeah.
maybe.
Yeah. At least it's where the juice is, you know?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Mm.
Hmm. So how's your week been besides all of this?
Oh man, let's see. Well, I think, I had a conflict with honey last week, and just noticing for me, I think what's kind of had a trauma response, by the end of the week, like that immobilized, don't want to eat, don't care about anything, sort of
Mm,
really listless, hopeless place. And I recognized it as like not necessarily the grown woman, but the 12-year-old, the 3-year-old was happening. And for me, it kind of spurred this curiosity about plant medicine for trauma, MDMA for trauma, brain spotting for like, I just kind of pulled on all my resources to be like, okay, perhaps because I'm in the presence of love, cohabitating, stuff's coming up. Like, like I'm heaving up trauma, right? For lack of a better word. And it's a bit daily, maybe not the deep paralysis of like the parasympathetic at 11 kind of level, but like some memory kind of uppercuts my chin, on a daily basis. So perhaps it's time to look into that. And I've done therapy and I've done coaching and I've done these things, and there's just newer modalities that are also interesting, letting the plants do the work, letting shamans facilitate. Um, there was a great podcast from, I think it was MAPS, was the organization, and using like microdosing of shrooms and other plant medicine, and also MDMA, which I was surprised about. Like, I think that's the ecstasy thing.
mhm,
Um, but all facilitated by someone who's a health certified
mhm.
human. Yeah, and I'm curious because I feel ready, and I feel, I won't say tired of carrying, but like more so like wanting to fly and feeling a little like heavy. So like that sense like, ugh, can't get off the ground. What's going on here? Oh, it's this stuff. And that stuff's what has made me who I am and has made me the coach I am. And I don't necessarily feel like I need to carry rocks in my backpack. So we'll see. Maybe this will be part of the journey on our podcast when it happens.
I'm so curious to hear. I mean, and I'll be curious to hear more about it. Wow.
Yeah. Yeah. It's like not about the story anymore. It's about like dislodging it out of the body.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that was kind of in addition to the election stress, was just this like conflict, repair, scared animals, conflict, repair, that cycle
Mhm.
of de-escalating and listening to each other, which is why I think it's front and center on my mind, right? Being in disagreement and listening, uh, feeling seen, feeling gotten, being soothed by that, settling the nervous system, settling each other, co-regulating. Um, but then going, yeah, but this thing, this dark sucking hole that I can get stuck in for days, it's not who I want to be. You know, I want to have some agency over that.
Yeah.
I don't expect it all to be fixed, but it was a pretty dark paralysis.
Yeah.
And for all my might and spiritual tools, it seems like it just takes time for my body to process. So like there's nothing I can, you know what I mean? Like I don't know if you've ever had this where it's like, I can't journal, I can't shadow over this, I can't get like coaching. Like there is literally just the body's doing what it needs to do. And I'm like in the spacesuit waiting it out.
Mhm.
And so I'm just curious if there's a better way.
I don't think there is. I don't, and I realize that Glennon is not, the end all, but she talks a lot about just sitting in what's uncomfortable.
Ugh.
I know, because I don't know one human who likes to do it. Nobody likes to do it.
So counter
It
instinctual.
is completely that. Yes, completely.
Why would I,
Right.
like, we're all about like seek
Like,
pleasure,
why
avoid
would we want to do that?
seek pleasure, avoid pain. It's like a primal wiring,
Right.
you know? So to be like, no, no, avoid your instincts and lean into the pain.
Wait, I lost you for a
What
moment. Where
happened?
there you are.
Okay.
So,
But I'm just saying, like, our primal wiring, no matter how much we've been socialized, how much we've got technology and all this stuff, like, our wiring is ancient. Seek pleasure, avoid pain.
or at least numb it.
Avoid it some way,
Avoid it some way.
escape,
Yeah.
you know.
Right.
What can I do to escape this vulnerability,
Yeah.
this embarrassment, this shame, this, right?
Right. And that's why it keeps coming back. I
Yes.
know. I know.
It like makes, like, I swear, like, it's like wanting to cough up a hairball. So it's like,
I
oh
know.
no. You know? But yeah, allowing it to be there. And I think what really supported it processing was naming it. Saying to my
Hmm.
partner, I think I'm in a trauma response. I'm kind of collapsing. I haven't eaten today. I feel hopeless,
Hmm.
right? Like, and just like being seen in that, I don't want to resource myself. I just want to lay here and, you know, be listless, and it's hard to it's like it's harder to hold it all in and be this like cumulonimbus cloud that's trying to look normal than to just be like, yeah, I'm struggling today. And I know it's not us, but something about what happened with us was familiar enough to trigger something. And now I'm just, you know, feeling really screwed up. That moved something, naming it and being witnessed.
Hmm.
Didn't fix it, but it
Right.
it moved some of that really tremendously stuck energy. So I don't know if you can relate, if there's ever been a time where, trauma or not, like just naming it, being seen in it, helped you, helped something circulate.
Hmm. Um, yes. Yes, it has. Um, and the naming, you talk about being vulnerable, even naming it is hard and vulnerable because the truth serum is there, and you're like, here it is, this is what it is. And as much as I don't want to do anything with it, it's here. It's right here on the platter. Let's do something with it. Um, and unfortunately, never with my former partner. Um, but since then, I have been able to do a lot of that with certain friends.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and that can get really tricky too.
Sure.
That can get really tricky too because I know how I am in a friendship and that I take it very seriously and I'm very loyal, like to my death. Like to my death. I mean, that sounds extreme, but it's really how I feel.
Yeah.
And I don't know I unless, I trust that that's coming from the other person as well, but I don't know that until we both show up.
Right.
You know what I mean? So it's very risky. It's very risky to name it and to be witnessed with what it is, especially when the other person tends to run a little bit.
Right.
And
Like
I'm like,
trust.
I'm not letting you run. Come back here because we have something to talk about. Like there's something to talk about. Um, but it's been a learning curve. It's been a really good learning curve for, I will say, for myself. And I know for the other person, but certainly for myself. So what that's done for me, it's built more confidence in how to do relationships.
Mhm.
Just one more tool in my toolbox
Yeah. And I
for
love
that.
that even the whole like, noting someone's capacity and attempting to do some capacity building. You'd be like, come back, even if you can hold this 5 more seconds,
Mhm.
right?
Mhm.
Yeah. I noticed for me when I started going to school for coaching, so much of my efforts, even the first semester, was self regulating because people were sharing real stuff, maybe sometimes being seen for the first time, like ever. And it's like intense, big emotions sometimes. And I noticed at first, because I really couldn't sit with my own, I would really deregulate, dysregulate with them, right? And kind of lose my resources and stuff. And having to practice being in relationship with someone while they're struggling gifted me permission to be seen struggling. Like I learned so much too from that, and how reparative it is and how healing it can be. If, and again, not everyone has the capacity. So it's like, know your audience, right? But when it does happen, holy shift,
Mhm.
you know? It's like here you are in all of your human messiness, and you're still receiving the fullness of someone's love. And you
Mhm.
might not even give yourself that fullness of love.
Right. Right.
And here they are being like, yeah, I get it. You're a disaster today, but I love you anyway. Like,
Mhm.
not that that has to be the pre-qualifier, but I have found that I've learned to love myself more. They say like, oh, love yourself first and then the relationship. But for me personally, I've learned to love myself more through the eyes
Mhm.
of my partner, because there's places I don't like and don't accept. But he's like, okay,
Mhm.
this is what's happening today,
Yeah.
you know? Yeah. Hmm.
So beautiful. Mm.
How about your world? I know, some of it was obviously through the lens of the election, but what beyond that is like alive for you or that you'd like to be seen in?
Um, so I'm about to start another rotation around the sun.
Oh my gosh. Scorpio?
Scorpio,
When?
Friday.
Solar return Friday.
I know.
Wow.
So just a lot of intense energy happening right now.
Mhm.
Um, and I had not put a lot of weight into today's date, 11/11/2020.
Right.
And then I started reading and I was like, holy cannoli. Like, what? So, Spirit told me to buy a lottery ticket. So I did.
Yeah, Mondo Manifestation Day.
It is.
Yeah.
And the drawing, I guess, is on Friday. The numbers come up on Friday. And I was like, okay, you know,
Yeah.
nothing attached to it. Here it is. Um, so I bought more than one ticket. I just fed a 20 into the machine and then whatever numbers. Um, so that was fun. And I really liked that I appreciated that I didn't put a lot of thought into it.
Yeah.
Like I was just like, right, I'm doing it. There's no pressure here. It's happening. Um, my mom sent me, she was so sweet. She sent me some money. And so I'm not one who really treats myself to things, unless I mean, sometimes I do. So I've been wanting a really nice writing pen.
Mm.
Um, so I bought two.
Do you have them? Are you gonna share? Oh, they haven't arrived yet?
The one arrived yesterday, and the other pen, the one I got off of Amazon, I can go get it quickly. And it was actually quite inexpensive. It was $10, and so there's an ink in it, and it came with two cartridges. And I was like, that's really awesome. And then the other pen is a cross, and it's green. It's my favorite shade of green. It's so pretty. Like I can't. I'm so excited for it.
I love you. I
My
love
gosh.
to, like, there's something, and I say this with the highest praise because I think we lose this as adults, like this childlike joy
Oh God, yes. Like I'm
around.
so excited. I'm
Yeah.
so excited. Yeah. And and then I've been contemplating getting another, like a newer rug for my kitchen.
Mhm.
And I found one, Facebook has all the ads and stuff. And so I found a rug. And I was like, $40 for a really nice, well-made rug that's 4x6. It'll fit in my kitchen perfectly. And it's dark colors. So, I'm excited about that. And then there's a line of makeup called Boom, Boom, and it's created by a woman who's over 50, and it really is for all skin tones. And I was like, oh, let me think about this. So they're having a Black Friday sale early. So I signed up on their email. so I You're like, I saw you quiver a little bit. I'm like, yes, it's really exciting. Because I'm not one who wears a lot of makeup, but I'm noticing. I'm just like,
Mhm.
I have some, I have some dark, circles around my eyes and whatever. And um, so anyway, I'm gonna wait until the sale comes, and then I'll, you know, um, so little things like that. Because I typically would just save the money that my mom got me, but I'm like, no, I want to spend it. Like not that I don't. It's not like, oh, I want to spend it, but I'm like, I'm gonna treat myself. I'm treating myself this
Yeah.
year.
I love, and having some abundance there too, right? Like,
Yeah.
and the excitement. I mean, when I think of once in a blue moon when I get a lotto ticket, it's it's worth the dollar or $2 or whatever it is to be like, ooh, like what would I do and who would I give this to and where would I go? And like just to have that energy portal unlock
I
for two
know.
days
Yes.
is worth it. People spend money on all kinds of things, you know? And I
Yeah.
know for me, I bought like raw cacao today, and I'm just like,
Mm.
because for me, that one cup, because it's like a vasodilator and a heart stimulator, and it's like it circulates your blood at like 25 to 30% more, right? And it's not a nervous system stimulator like coffee, it's a cardio stimulant. That it's sort of like all of a sudden it's like this heart expansive, focused, energized, not buzzy, like wanting to hug everyone kind of energy comes
Mm.
through the cacao. So to me, like a cup of that a day is liquid gold, like
Mhm.
for what it does for my energy. So I get it. Like I get these sweet things that provide way more than the material item.
Oh yeah.
The appreciation that you also bring to it is different, right? Some people get something and then they forget about it. but like I know you to be like appreciative
Mhm.
consistently when
Yeah,
you have something.
right.
Yeah.
And it's how I choose gifts for people too. Like I put a
Mhm.
lot of thought into something. I won't just buy a gift just to buy it.
Mhm.
There's a lot of thought and a lot of process that goes into it.
That's sweet.
It's how I've always been.
Yeah.
Yeah. So,
So sweet. I love that. Mm.
yeah. So I know we're almost at time.
Oh, thank you. Thank you
Yeah,
so
you're
much.
welcome. And we'll talk about my phone call next time.
Oh, dang it.
I know. It's okay. It's all good. It's all good. We'll talk about it next time.
Do you
So let's
do you
let's
think okay, now I'm like, ooh, I
let's
could
stop recording and then we can kind of talk about the calendar and whatnot.
okay. Hmm. Right. Let me